Okay, so now we're going to go about lettering our Conrail engine. And one of the first things we can do is put the Conrail logo on this locomotive. And the Conrail logo is kind of a good example of where a logo is kind of part logo and part striping of the engine, where it's got sort of aesthetic striping, but it's also the logo image. Okay, so it's basically up right about a half an inch above this step, and basically there's a rail that's an eighth of an inch, then there's a blue space that's about an eighth of an inch, then there's another rail that's an eighth of an inch, and then the blue space down to the step that's an eighth of an inch. And we want to go to right about the space between the first and second set of doors. And on different Conrail engines, it's true of lots of railroads, on different Conrail engines, lots of railroads, you want to kind of look at each time a logo or anything is used. It can be quite different as far as the size of it. A lot of times it's the exact same size or whatever, but in this case we're looking at that it's right about 7/8 of an inch that it goes from the bottom of the white line to the outside circle. And my advice to you, do this very, very lightly. A lot of times when you're doing just about any kind of beginnings of any kind of lettering, do it fairly lightly. What happens, the Conrail logo is pretty interesting here. And I actually should even move this over. That, first of all, that's why I should do it lightly. What it is, and I've done the Conrail logo many times, it's basically got a circle, and then what you kind of do, this is why it's good to have a circle template. You start putting a circle inside a circle, then this circle lines up with this rail. Trust me, it took me many, many times to even begin to get the grasp of how to make this look clean and tight. Because where it actually, that outside one starts to do it, but where it kind of starts to run into an issue is these two inside ones. Especially on smaller Conrail logos on boxcars and stuff. Because what happens is they have to line up, and this last one I definitely do freehand so I can really see what I'm doing. And the Conrail logo is so iconic that if you don't quite get it right, it sort of stands out. So there's the Conrail logo. And we can either do the number next or write Conrail. Why don't we write Conrail? Conrail has a lot of iconic things. The Conrail font is very iconic. And the C is kind of this half a circle. Whoops. been sharpening my pencil too much. It's getting a little short. Almost time to get a new pencil. Okay, now what I recommend is you want to measure out what you should do is you should measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 letters, but the letter I, what I always do is I call it about 6.5 or so, and it's about 40, it's about 1.25 inches. Oh, let's just 1, 2. Basically, they're all going to be right at about 1/4 inch. The O is a perfect circle. The N. The R. The R has this really sharp diagonal underneath it of the leg, the diagonal leg. The A is pretty wide. The I's narrow. And the L is actually a little bit narrower than, well, certainly the A, but even kind of your eye will keep catching this. Then it says Conrail. Just kind of get the beginnings of where it says Conrail on the back. And right after you do that, I kind of recommend get the ending of where it says Conrail on the front, since you're kind of doing that. And why don't we just do the 3001? As I've said a couple of times, I do the middle zeros, which are very perfect circles in Conrail. Almost just use your circle template. And the 1 is and then the number boards. It's kind of a ghost of a letter. And just a couple of decals here and there. Safety decals and then put the F on the front. Okay, and then the Conrail GP40's basically lettered.